Welcome to my Houdini tips video, and I'm going to talk about my Houdini 19.5 preferences. Now I have my Houdini file opened up, and I have the desktop that I just made in my first tutorial, Houdini tips tutorial. And one of the things that you'll notice is that the screen is pretty hard to read. I'm going to go up to Preferences, Edit, Preferences on Windows, and go through some of these. Words are kind of hard to read, partly because I'm working off a small laptop screen, not a large monitor, where I would probably keep it this size if I was working on a large monitor. And also when I'm teaching, it makes it difficult to read. And so anyway, we'll go through each one of these. And I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm just going to talk about what I want. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is the general user interface, draw lines smoothly. Now, I checked this one on, and I checked this one on in my desktop tutorial. And what that does is that colors those sub panes. So if you go to a different part of Houdini, that color will change. And it's kind of like a subliminal way of knowing where you are. And so the other thing is the small font size. And so I'm going to address that right now. And unfortunately, I have to quit Houdini and restart in order to see the effect of this GUI UI scale. So I'm going to go from 1 to 2 and see the font became bigger. Hark, apply, accept. And lo and behold, nothing happened. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file as an empty file, and I'm going to quit and reopen up Houdini. Now I've reopened my Houdini file. You can see already this like splash screen is like much bigger than before. And look at it's gigantic, it's humongous, and it's uneditable. And so let's try a different setting. General user GUI, and they probably did that for someone that has a really large screen. So, oh, I can do uh, decimal. Uh, I'm going to do a decimal here.
So same thing, save my empty file. I'm gonna.
Now it's opening up again, and we can see that window is not quite as overwhelming. Maybe if I had an 8K monitor, I'd use 2 or 3 or 4. Who knows? This is better for teaching. And I'm going to go up and pick my desktop. And so I'm using this Houdini Tips desktop. One preference right here on the desktop version is that I want to go to scene view. So if I want Houdini to open up every time in scene view, then I need to make sure my desktop, I went to scene view and I'm going to pick save current desktop. Okay. And that updated it. And you can see the full path where that's saved at. Now, you can copy that file. It's just a text file, and you can email it to your friends or post it on YouTube or mail it to Prince King Charles. I don't know. Do what you want to do with it. Okay. So general user interface. So I got my colored panes. That's number 1, and I have my GUI scale, which is this one. Now the startup desktop, you can see we can pick that. That's another preferences. So I'm going to use my Houdini Tips desktop so that hopefully if I start up in Houdini file, it'll open up using that desktop. The second one, network. Okay, what things are here? I'm just going to look around. Let's go to the next one. We're going to go to 3D view, and naturally it's Y up orientation. This home screen, I like using uh, the front view. Okay, that's hidden light invisible. Yeah, I'm a fan of that old school hidden light invisible. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to go to shelf tools. I don't really do anything with that. Leave them alone. Takes. I don't do anything with that. Animation. Okay, here's one. I work one. I like having auto key turned on and auto key tuplets parameters. Uh, that means that if you have XYZ, it'll auto key all of them. And so I don't really do that. Set keys on all channels, global. Okay, that's okay. Now here's one that I like, and I'm a big fan of when I block my animation, I like to use linear. Bezier is like an ease in and ease out. Start slow and slowly. Uh, Everything's nice and sweet and cozy, and I hate that. Especially if you're putting multiple keyframes in on something. I like linear for blocking and setting up something. The value goes straight from one to another. And a lot of times I use linear the most. And so that's what I set that to. Go back and edit my parameters, preferences. Where was I? Animation lighting. Okay. Okay, so I haven't really messed with any of these. And maybe I should. Rendering. Okay, and now I only have Mantra. I don't have RenderMan installed, and I usually have handles turned off. Um, I don't use them as much as I see other people use them. Interactive tools, I'm leaving those all off for now. Heads up display, show heads up display. I typically I don't like the heads up display when the things appear in the window. That's me. I don't like it. Sometimes, but nah. I guess I'm old school. Okay, here's a big one. Now highlight selected objects in viewer, and that's when you select something over here and it's yellow in the viewer. And that's really useful if you got like a whole bunch of objects in the scene and you're not sure which is which. And so let's say you had like 4,700 orcs in your scene and you're trying to find the one where you have to clip his toenails or something like that. And you don't know which one it is or which one to look at. If you select it over here, it'll highlight over there. But for me, generally, I don't like having that yellow highlight around an object because it distracts from my looking at the entire scene. I like this show display operator, show current operator. I think that used to be the default, and they changed it. But when you select an object, it'll be the display, and the little blue flag is what's going to be displayed, and I like that. I don't like the other one, and I think that's changed. I'm going to turn this one off, the select highlight flag on viewer generated nodes. Moving on, motion and audio. I'm just going to leave those alone. Compositing. I wish there was one for stop asking me for a LUT. And maybe there is, but I didn't see it. Scripting. There's two methods of scripting Houdini, a script in Python, and I still like using this one. Syntax highlighting, um, parentheses and quote matching, those are good. Some of these in a text port can become really annoying. So context sensitive pop-up help. That one, that one bugs me a lot. Although it's useful at times, it still bothers me. Let's go to desktop and toolbars. Save desktops automatically. I don't do that because sometimes I accidentally delete one of the panes. I'll like come over here or somewhere and delete the material or delete that one by accident. I don't want that to be saved. Show hidden files. I kind of like show all files. I kind of like both of those. Okay, we'll move on. Save and load. And the automatic backup is okay as it is for me. Hip file options. Unit length, this is meters. Mass, 1 kilogram. And so this is where obviously Houdini set to 1 meter. And it says here, one Houdini, this is used by some unit specific DOPS parameters. And so I haven't actually done a test to see if it's true or not, like if you drop something, if this scales. And I'm assuming, hoping it's true. Warning, warning. Okay, warn before overwriting files. I'm gonna leave them all on, so Uh, I guess a lot of the warnings didn't bother me. Notifications. External tools. I don't have that set up on. This is actually something I should explore. Miscellaneous. Okay. Send anonymous user statistics. You want to be a jerk and not have anybody know who the jerk is. Okay, I'm good with miscellaneous, and so that takes care of the list. I read through each of those carefully just to see what was new, and there's a couple of things that I didn't remember seeing before, but I don't always like read through them really carefully. And so I'll let you do that. I just the ones that I changed, the ones that I really want to talk about how I set up my preferences. So now I'm going to go ahead and save my Houdini file, save it, and I'm going to quit. If you don't save your Houdini file, like if Houdini crashed, it's not going to remember the preferences. Opening up Houdini again after saving my file, quitting without a crash. And here's another preference, show on desktop. And part of the reason why I usually don't like having this open, but 19.5 is a new version of Houdini, and there's some things on here that there's some things on here that might be of interest to me that you like the content library. So I'm keeping this one open probably for like a week, and then probably uncheck that as a preference. So that's my preferences. I'm just going to do a double check to make sure they really took. And my double check method, if I go to animation and it's linear, and lo and behold, they are linear. So I'm assuming that all my preferences got taken. So please share this with your friends. If you have colleagues that are trying to switch from Maya to Houdini, or 3D Max to Houdini, or Microsoft Word to Houdini, please let them know about these tutorials, just to help them get a better quick start on the world.